Welcome back to Clarets Walk. Well, as the first game of the seasons go, it's pretty much perfect, wasn't it? Not only have Burnley found their first 3 points of the season, they've also got their identity back. To discuss all of that, we've got Mike and Dan, and it's Where Clarets Walk. You hit the subscribe button, and we'll roll the titles. Welcome to Where Clarets Walk, Mike and Dan. You're very welcome, and I can tell by your faces, I don't need to ask you how you are. You very much enjoyed that, didn't you, Mike, last night?
It was an experience. it was something to be proud of. I knew we'd win. I had a good feeling we'd win. But it's normally when we go there, it's always like a real tough, gritty fight, and we get like one goal ahead and then hope that we can just hold on long enough. And for a stage in second half, it looked like that were going to be the way, but then no, it just kicked into another gear.
The Luton Town fans thought, Dan, that they'd just seen the champions elect last night. Were Burnley that good, or were Luton that bad?
I think it was probably a bit of a mix. I think we played very well. I think we've got a good squad. We've kept a lot of those players from last season. And Parker seems to have brought together the team a bit more. It would have seemed that, certainly from watching, I don't know if you've seen the Sky documentary, that it was becoming very fractious towards the end of last season, a lot of falling out, infighting and what have you. He seems to have got rid of that. My concern, I think we probably are the champions elect. I know that sounds arrogant. If we keep these players with 20 days left until the window closes. So I think if we keep the main of them, we probably are. If we lose a lot, we probably still are. No.
I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, you've got a massive squad, haven't you? We'll come on to that as the weeks go by. But let's talk about the game itself then. I mean, Luton's defensive line was young and inexperienced, so part of the goals, I think you can count to that. But some nice goals, and of course, the balls being threaded through. In the first game of the season, crikey, you'd be happy for that for the 10th game, wouldn't you? But to see that straight on, it seems as if this team have been playing together for a while. Mike, how impressed were you with the fluidity of it all?
What impressed me more than anything is it seems to be Parker's style. I hate Parker ball and that sort of stuff, but Parker's style seems to be like a hybrid between what we had with Dyche and what we had with Company. It's something directly in the middle, the tough, rigid when they need to be. I noticed on a few occasions we swapped to a back five when we lost the ball. Vitinho came all the way back and Robert slid into like a third defender. But then when we got the ball, we was inventive. It might not have always worked. We might have lost the ball a few times, but we were trying things. And that really impressed me. That was a beautiful thing to watch. It wasn't stick to the same ideology. We must play this way. It's like, no, what we're going to do, let's adapt. Let's go.
And on that adaptability, Dan, we don't want to use Vincent Kompany's name too much, but we have to in this instance. There was that stubbornness about him, wasn't there, not to change the way of play. Was it nice to see that when it was needed in the game that Parker did adapt?
It was. I mean, it's difficult to say after one game whether he's adapted. He adapted to that particular game, but I think when he was interviewed afterwards, he said that was the plan. He didn't seem to say we had to go to plan B, plan C. He said the plan was not lump it, but in essence, play the ball forward, get the second ball, which is what he was saying afterwards, which is what they did. But it was a good mix, like Mike was saying then. It was no nonsense at the back at times, clear lines, but then also when we got into attacking positions, they didn't panic. There was some intricate passing. There was some good balls put through. And, he did change his formation as the game went on. So I suppose, yeah, he did adapt, but it's whether, is this his style of play, and we'll see that over the next few games, or was it a case of he just adapts in-game, and obviously it was almost a perfect start for him yesterday.
Yeah, you had a lot of games behind closed doors, didn't you, pre-season? So it's unfair to ask you, did you see this coming, Mike?
No, not at Luton. No, I think we can, as football fans, we can collectively say that everybody believes Kenilworth Road is one of the hardest places to go to in football. It's such a tight stadium where the fans are right on top of it. And the opening game of the season as well, that did put some doubt into my mind because I knew it was going to be fierce. I knew it was going to be aggressive. But for some reason, the fans just shut up about 20 minutes in. And all you could hear with the Burnley fans, it was like we were the home team.
Yeah, it certainly came through on the TV then. Dan, any individuals' performances stick out for you?
I thought the new lad Pires, who was at left back, he made mistakes, don't get me wrong. He was caught out of position a couple of times and what have you. But as debuts go, he had, I think, 2 assists. He certainly set up the first. I think he might have set up another. I thought he played pretty well. I know O'Shea got the man of the match. He played a good part. And it's going to be a bit unpopular because he looked like he did not an awful lot, but I thought Foster harried their defence. I thought he did a lot of work which goes unpraised. When he carried the ball in the 80-odd minute, best part of 80 yards, and then lays it off to Vitinho, I thought he did a lot of work which won't get him a lot of praise, but I thought he played well. I thought the entire team played well, to be perfectly honest, but I thought those were, in my opinion, my standout players.
Yeah. I think you've sent a shockwave through the Championship with that result last night. Not just the result, but the performance as well. You certainly made lots of Leeds fans a little bit more jittery on social media.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Speaking of social media, let's have a look at some of the comments that were being made about the Burnley performance at Kenilworth Road. Okay, rate my take then, where we steal some of the contents of social media and ask you to comment on it. Dan, I'll come to you first. John Merlin says, looking a happier together bunch. Well done, Scott Parker. I think you alluded to that in your comments before, but do this team look like they're enjoying each other's company? No pun intended.
Yeah, I think they did. Certainly after the game, even Vegos too, it's been well documented in the past that he doesn't want to be at Burnley. He doesn't want to play in the Championship. He was encouraging Parker to go over with the fans. He came all over himself, and I think that took a lot of Burnley fans by surprise because you're never fully aware of what's going on behind the scenes. And then, if we'd have lost 1-0, would it have been the same? I don't know. But obviously we won 4-1. Everyone's happy. But they did seem a lot of togetherness. And I follow a lot of them on social media because I've got scant else to do in my life. And Connor Roberts was putting on comments saying, if in doubt, hoof it up to Odobert, hoof it up to whoever. And there was a lot more interaction. It seemed to be more positive. Like I say, it's a new start, it's a new manager. Everyone's got a blank canvas, so maybe that's part of it. You just spanked your not rivals in geography terms, but in relation to what people are saying they're going to be up there or thereabouts in their home back garden on the first game of the season. So it's a good mood day. But they did seem to be, certainly as a fan looking in, that a bit more happy, a bit more joy, a bit more togetherness. We'll see, when times are tough, if it's still there.
Okay. All right, Dan. Mike, you can have this one from Barry Chuckle. 3 points, clap. But Trafford, however, is still a liability and will lose us points throughout the season. We're going to talk more about goalkeepers, of course, in a second, because you have got Ipswich's promotion goalkeeper on your books now. But we keep going on about goalkeepers every time on the channel. What's your view on that?
That take, it boils my urine. It really does. Because last season, a lot of people don't take into account that Trafford was, in my opinion, hung out to dry by company. It was stuck in a very inexperienced team in the hardest division in the world, without a doubt, and being forced to play behind a defence that was committing suicide every game. No keeper. I don't care. You could stick Allison in there and he would have had trouble. But the problem is, because the frustration was building throughout the season, the negativity was building throughout the season, everybody attacked Trafford, and at the end he just went, I can't do this. And I don't blame him. He's probably still suffering from PTSD. You could see that in the start of the game. He looked nervous. And for me, the greatest thing that I saw in the whole game was when Trafford sprinted the whole length of the pitch to celebrate with the lads for the 4th goal. You never see keepers doing that. And that, to me, shows something that he at least cares about the lads he's playing with. And for me, that's something you can build on. And to write him off so quickly, I tell you, it goes against me bones, I tell you.
That does lead us nicely into our next section, which is each week we're going to start to review Burnley's squad. As might take us a long time given the size of it, but we will look at each position week by week, and we want to focus on goalkeepers this week. Dan, were you happy with the signing of Hadlaki?
I don't know an awful lot about him, if I'm perfectly honest. I know he was Leicester's goalkeeper. They spoke quite well of him. I don't disagree with what Mike said about Trafford. I think he is a good keeper. I just think he has a mistake in him. He showed it against last night. But unfortunately for goalkeepers, when mistakes happen, they are amplified. In relation to this guy, the way I look at it is, are the fans of the club that he's left glad to see him go? And they weren't. They were saying, oh, he's a good keeper, this, that, the other. So we'll have to wait and see with him. I don't know enough. I haven't seen enough about him, but he was in a good team. He obviously got promoted. Was he their keeper last season?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He played nearly every game. Yeah.
So, he's got to have something about him. I mean, there's argument, like Mike was just saying, if you're playing for the best team, you've got to look like you've got the best keeper. If you've got a poor team in front of you, your keeper's going to look poorer. So, but, he was in the best team in the Championship last year. He kept his position. He obviously is good at this level, and we'll see how he goes. He may well be a good understudy, or he may, if rumours are to be believed, be our first choice if Trafford was to leave. Yeah. Decent backup options there, haven't you, Mike? So goalkeeping isn't something that we're going to be seeing any investment in, is it, Mike? I'm guessing over the next 2 weeks.
I'd be surprised. Bear in mind, we've just brought in Etienne Green, who is an ex-England under-21 international. And he was slated at one point to be worth £10 million, but then he got a really bad injury, which is what curtailed his career a bit. But he's still very young, and he's still got a massive ceiling above him. And if Parker can bring that out, maybe he's the replacement for Trafford if he goes. But for me, I would be surprised if I could talk to Trafford right now and say, look, draw a line on last season and go again. Because the last thing you want to do is go back to the Premier League and be an understudy for the next 2 or 3 years. You could be in this team, keep your position, and get a year of the Championship under your belt, and then tackle the Premier League again, if we go up. And I think that is the best option for him. I genuinely do.
I think he's just shy of some coaching, because he's a good shot stopper, but you're not a goalkeeper unless you're a good shot stopper. His distribution isn't too bad, but for me, it's his command of crosses and what have you. He flaps at a few. And I think that can be taught, that can be learned, and I think if he gets that in his arsenal, he then becomes not necessarily a world-class keeper, but certainly a better keeper than he currently is, because he's not a bad keeper.
Well, let's not forget, he's a European or under-21 record holder. Not only is he hold the record for England, he holds the record for the whole under-21 European Championship. You don't get that by being a bad keeper. It's physically impossible. No,
I agree. Like I said, I don't think he's a bad keeper. And I think, like you touched on, circumstances last season probably maybe highlighted him more than it possibly should have done.
Yeah.
But I think there is room for improvement with him, as there probably is with almost every player.
Of course there is.
Okay. We'll leave then the Luton game now, if we may, and focus on the return of the Championship to Turf Moor, and your opponents this weekend haven't got a very good record there at all. Cardiff City haven't won since the 1980s. Our Cardiff fans, when we spoke to them, and Mike was delighted to come and speak to them ourselves on the Cardiff View, didn't hold much hope at all. So is this, I think of the 12 games this weekend, Dan, this is a home banker, isn't it?
Okay, I won't put it on my coupon, I never do. But you'd like to think we will. I I don't know if he'll play the same team or the same formation. Again, when you hear him speak afterwards, he said this was the plan for Luton. He obviously will have another plan for Cardiff. I'm perfectly honest, with the greatest respect to Cardiff fans, I don't see them getting much here. I think if we play with the same level of confidence and ability we did last night, then I can't see them doing anything at the turf. That being said, off days happen, this, that, the other. But I think you're probably right. I think for most people who aren't Burnley fans or rival fans, this will be a first marker when you're picking teams to win this week.
Okay. I want to just ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. Who do you see as your main threat to promotion? Lots of pundits have got yourselves and Leeds up there. Do you think this is a 2-horse race, or would you throw any other team into the mix, Mike?
For me, it's Sheffield United. They have recruited exceptionally well. And they're still going. They're still bringing more and more players in. It's like Burnley back in 22-23. They literally, you're available, we'll have you. And they're literally just taking quality players. And I think it's going to be a completely different Sheffield United from what we saw last season, unfortunately, because I rather did enjoy those games. But I think we're going to go back to 22-23 when it was a proper slobber knocker between us two.
Okay. And Dan, you mentioned the documentary earlier that you've obviously clearly been watching. For those of us that haven't watched it yet, what have you learned from it in a nutshell? It's
difficult to say because you don't know how it's been edited. I imagine it's been edited after the company decided we're going to leave, because he doesn't come off very well in that. The aggression is shown towards some players is a little bit concerning. He said something. He was trying to motivate them. Now, I'm not a motivational speaker, but he said to them before a match, we're going out. It's not all about quality. It's about togetherness. They've got quality. We've got togetherness, which in my eyes is just saying, well, they're better than you. Just try hard. It was a very odd way of preparing your players. And it's sad to say, because 12 months ago, we all thought Vincent Kompany was the best person in the world. We thought he was going to be the best thing since sliced bread. Sliced bread making a great manager. But when it came, obviously, the last season, and his inability to change and adapt and what have you, and it's coming through on the documentary that he was very focused. This is how it's got to be done, and there's no alternative. And you kind of think when it was going well, yeah, you can believe him. But when it wasn't going so well, he just seems to lose his rag at everyone. It's an odd watch. But like I say, you only see 4 hours of a season, which they've chopped together. So it might be doing him a disservice, because when you see it all, that might be taken out of context. But certainly the players seem to have turned on him a little bit towards the end. They then turned on each other. It seemed a bit of a toxic atmosphere, and you're never going to win games like that.
This is probably the world's stupidest question, but Mike, what were your emotions and feelings when he did decide to leave for pastures?
I will never begrudge anybody the chance to further the career in whatever industry they're in. And I'm a business owner myself. I've had employees. I've moved on to bigger companies. You understand it. The problem comes is when they don't show appreciation for what that business has done for them. And that's how it felt for me. And what made it worse, what a lot of people have picked up on, it took about two weeks, Dan, for a video to come out from company, would you say?
Yeah, it was like, well, I don't know if it was longer than 40 seconds, but the clip I saw was about 40 seconds.
Yeah, but that 40 seconds was from the mission to Burnley. It was from that interview. Yeah, it was from that interview. So we never actually recorded anything, and we never got anything for all the support we gave him. And to me, I'll not forgive him for that, because we could have got rid of him. We could have got rid of him at Christmas. Could have done.
Do you think you'd have stayed up if you
never really turned on him? The fans, when it come to January, February time, there was 1 or 2 boos, but you've seen it. I mean, you've been there, Mike. We turn on managers, quicker than anything. If it's not going well, if they've lost the dressing room, if they lost the fans, we'll voice it. But we never really. There was once or twice we booed him, but not much, and we stuck with him. And like you rightly say, I mean, he doesn't always anything. Football's fickle, but it would have been nice.
Yeah, he wouldn't have got the Bayern job without us.
Well,
true.
Coincidentally, my sister-in-law is from Munich. She's a Bayern Munich fan. When I was on holiday, I actually bumped into people wearing Harry Kane shirts and what have you. Mixed views. Not overly thrilled with his appointment. Obviously, it's only a small snapshot of their fan base, but they weren't saying, "Oh, this is a brilliant thing. This is what we need." It was, "Oh, it seems a bit desperate," but
certainly smacked that way, doesn't it? Hypothetical question, but if you'd have got rid of him, Dan, do you think you would have stayed up?
No, I don't think so. Depends when you got rid of him, but no, I think whenever it was probably too late by then.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much. This week, next week, then we'll obviously be reviewing the Cardiff game. We're getting closer to the Blackburn game, aren't we, as well? So we'll be preparing ourselves for that one. And next week, for example, central defenders as well. What's been the best pairing of central defenders that Burnley have ever had, and also what do these two and others think of the current crop? Cheers, Mike. Cheers, Dan. Enjoy the first home game at Turf Moor.
Thanks very much.
If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Drop us a comment as well. We've got 45 more of these to go. Looking forward to it. Cheers, fellas.